Okay, now welcome, but stuff and narratives are kind of getting crazy. Okay, now we got possibly CMC holding in for a contract extension, maybe his last bag of his career. Let's get into it. So first of all, welcome in to crunch time with the authentic take. Appreciate y'all, coming in here. And so the first topic is CMC and him possibly holding in because we know he hasn't practiced probably for about like 3 or 4 days based on tightness. Honestly, all the content I've been putting out, I've been saying that tightness with everybody in training camp is just precaution, just based on injuries and how bad it's been going for the 49ers. And now I think mainly Ian Rappaport, NFL insider, that's always on the Pat McAfee show. I think he kind of started spinning this narrative saying, oh, um, maybe CMC is holding in for a contract because I don't really believe it. Because even when a couple years ago, when CMC got his, I think it was like a 2 year extension, he wasn't really loud about it. I mean, maybe 49er fans and like the media didn't really notice it based on like all the Brandon Ayuk stuff, but he's not really loud when it comes to that stuff. And I feel like this is just probably narrative. Um, and obviously with the road back with CMC, they're gonna be overcautious. I think he's the main guy that they want to be cautious with because possibly getting our running game back this year is a big thing that we would like to incorporate in the offense. And I just think this is kind of like just probably all narrative. Um, and maybe the one thing that um the 49ers might not be holding close to the vest and being truthful about. So I mean, you've if you've been tuning in, you heard my like criticism, about not trusting the Niners so much. But on this, I uh I kind of trust them, and I don't think CMC is holding in for a contract. I think honestly, they're not even negotiating a contract until the end of the season. So there's been a lot of narratives, like the obviously what we're talking about, the tightness. Is it like a hold in, and then I seen articles. Does CMC want to go finish his career, where he grew up, like in Denver, with the Broncos? And off the top of my head, I can't really think who the Broncos running back is. I know Williams a couple years ago, but I know he's in Dallas now. So, I mean, I don't want him to leave, but it would be a fit. And as far as contract extension, 1 year would be the peak of what I want. A 2 year at the max, because the Niners probably just as far as age have to go in another direction, and definitely injuries as well. So that's what I would prefer as a Niners fan. Okay. And just kind of emphasizing the word of tightness. Pretty much, I'd say like 60-65% of the Niners players at training camp have had tightness already. And it's such a common thing that I think maybe it's just a narrative people are going like around with, because you hear like you hear Black got a abductor strain. That sounds like a legitimate injury. And players that are ramping up for the season, they're gonna get tightness. Like look at Stribling. He had hamstring tightness. I think he took a couple days off and he was back. Had a a big game in preseason week 1 with against the Titans. So eh, they could come back from this stuff, and um, I think that's the big thing that we've seen the Niners be precautious because last year was just such a struggle, and it was just like, who do you even have? Um, so I think they're being very precautious. Even with like Nick Bosa, I think they're being like overly cautious. As you know, some of the complaining Niner fans probably don't want and want to see the players there every day just showing up, even if they're standing on the sidelines. But at the end of the day, we don't know what it takes in this profession and, what kind of help they have. We think we do, but I think the Niners are kind of being, precautious, which is a good thing, you know, because I'm thinking that we can't really use the substation as an excuse anymore. So we got to be smarter. And the next thing to go, if we're not cautious and these injuries still be popping up, the training staff ain't gonna be here next year. That's my big thought on that. So am I concerned about CMC's tightness or is it just overreaction? I would say I'm concerned. I wouldn't say I'm crazy concerned just because of his injury history. And, at least initially in training camp, you know, insiders that were on the field said that, CMC, had that bounce that, we're used to seeing him have in, the Super Bowl appearances and everything. So I I really I want him to I want them to be precautious or cautious with him, and I want to see him in this full season because I think that he could really help. I think last year he just relied on his the receiving game a lot. I want him to go back to the run. Like the the younger guys aren't really showing up that they could hold up the run. I mean, the guys we signed were letting go already. Like we signed Khalil Herbert. I think yesterday we released him. So I just I want CMC to obviously come back to form, and we got to do everything we can to preserve him. So tightness, I'm concerned, but not like overly concerned. Why does CMC's health change everything? I mean, CMC is a dual threat running back. He is a great runner. He is, a great receiving back out of the backfield. And it's hard to game plan for him. So by putting him in this offense as 100%, it only increases the 49ers' chances to make a deep playoff run. How much Kyle Shanahan's offense changes when CMC is available. Honestly, I think taking away this weapon being CMC kind of pigeonholes Kyle a little bit. And Kyle's a guy that wants all weapons at all times. And he needs CMC out there for the other guys to really be as effective as they can be. He's a major um guy that they have to game plan for. It's kind of like, everybody's saying, "Oh, Debo Samuel is washed," but just for the fact that you have to game plan for him just in case he could possibly have one of those big games, that's that's stressing you out. So just the fact that they got a game plan for CMC is a positive thing to keep him healthy in the lineup or on the roster. And like I said, the dual threat idea with CMC is still prevalent. It's still a threat, And this is something that's going to guide Brock Purdy this year to see how successful he could be. Because, I look at um, CMC and even to an extent George Kittle as the safety blanket for Brock Purdy. So with CMC in there, that's just gonna make Brock Purdy feel that much more comfortable. If he's going to the first target, second target, oh, I don't see anything, I gotta get out of here. Oh, let me dump to CMC and see if he could like do anything with it or just get even a minimal gain. So um I think it's very good that the Niners are being cautious because CMC is definitely Brock Purdy's safety blanket. And as far as the game plan, I like that we drafted Black because we cannot run CMC into the ground for the second straight season. There's just no way around it. Like, I'm so glad that he held up last season, but I'm surprised he didn't break down at the end of the season. And even going in, Kyle Shanahan said that, I'm not gonna run him into the ground, and we need him, so we gotta put him on a snap count and all that. That end up didn't really happen because we ended up having injuries where we've relied more on CMC. So I think a lot of the acquisitions this year, like I said before, like Mike Evans, even Christian Kirk, who's actually still out, were kind of to take the load off CMC's back so he could just focus on maybe being a running back, on occasion being a receiving threat. And yeah, I just, it sucks that some of the guys that were brought in have dealt with injuries already that are supposed to be helping taking the workload off of CMC. But we'll see how that goes into week one, because we will not make the playoffs if we run CMC into the ground. I just know that for sure. Do you think the 49ers should shut CMC down until week one? I honestly don't think so. I think that they need him out there, even if it's, light workouts or just working with his movement coach. I think he needs to be out there because if you're not like moving your joints and everything, and I don't know where his tightness is. So I'm just going right to the Achilles. So if you got joints like that, you gotta, you've rested all off season. You gotta start getting them loose and in game shape. That's just at least my opinion. So even if he's doing a light workout, he's off on the side field and everything. I think that CMC should not be shut down until week one. Just keep him on a light schedule, nothing like crazy. Maybe don't even have him in pads. Just very light stuff. And I think he should not be shut down, like especially for week one or leading up to week one. And you just always wonder what happens if McCaffrey ends up having a surprise injury week one before the game, like he did the last time. Like, who becomes running back one? And unfortunately, Jordan James was crack ribbed out of here by our own teammate, Fred Warner, Mr. Dub City himself. Um, but I think us drafting Black, and I think I'm not sure if he's practicing yet or again, because he seems like he does have a significant like injury. I gotta think Black is the number two, but without him, that's why we signed like Herbert that we already released. Um, I think with Black, obviously, I think they're being precautious too, but I think that would be our number two if something mysteriously happens with CMC, and I'm okay with that because I like Black coming out of Indiana. He got that championship pedigree, and I think we'll be okay if he's our running back number one. But then again, when you think about it, because Jordan James, I'm not sure how long it takes to recover from a cracked rib. I know I had a bruised rib before, and it's really hard to breathe. And I think maybe I was probably out for like 2 to 3 weeks or something, but I was working a regular job. I wasn't worried about getting hit, again and stuff. So I'm thinking maybe by week one, Jordan James is back. And I wouldn't be mad if they just do a running back by committee, give CMC the majority of the load, and then give a big portion to Black, and then because I see Black as the number two right now. That's why I'm saying that, and then give Jordan James the rest. And I think that would be okay. I think you got three kind of um, decent like running backs, and we just gotta see what they mold into. I mean, CMC is not decent. He's obviously incredible, future Hall of Famer, but these other two guys I think will help a lot. If CMC is not there, are the 49ers going to be more pass heavy? I don't know. I mean, I would think so, but I would think it would be less successful because a lot of the missed opportunities last year, we just put in CMC's lap. We're like, oh, here, screen pass. We'll just get it out to you, or do like a little mini like post route. Okay, we got like an 8 yard reception because we couldn't like find any other option on the field. Um, so I think that they will be more pass heavy, but um, I don't know. I mean, I think they would have to be pass heavy by nature because what other direction are they going to go? If CMC's out and you have a rookie running back, and you kind of like, it's almost like you don't know who to trust. And if I'm Kyle, I know he's not going to do this, but I would just leave it in Brock's hand, whatever he sees on the field, to lead the trust in him to make the right decision. But that is a scary scenario to think about if you're a 49ers fan. And to kind of end the CMC stuff, the whole thing is basically he has tightness, which could go along probably with like soreness. So they're being precautious with him. Ian Rappaport ran with a narrative, and I think it's just precaution. So I think the 49ers, we could, at least the fans, we could like, we don't got to hold our breath, and CMC will be there week one and ready. And I think we could just kind of relax with that to end off the CMC stuff. But make sure you drop comments. Tell me what you think. Is he really holding in for a contract, or do you think he's just sore? I mean, that could be a reality too. So, and that's kind of with my knowledge and everything. I think that's what's going on. So, yeah, drop comments what you think. Um, and always make sure you like, comment, and subscribe to the Authentic Take. And now let's get into more Niners headlines. Okay, let's see. Okay. And they're kind of saying right now that um I mean, the narrative was that CMC and Nick Bosa were like the hold-in twins, and they're both holding in for like, you know, basically the last payday of their career. But that was quickly batted down. And obviously, Nick Bosa, he got tendonitis he's dealing with right now. So that's no joke. But um, we got to stay positive and hope these guys are there for week one. That's the most important. And also, George Kittle came out. He did a press conference, and just by the way he's talking, he's positive about um his rehab and everything. But um I could just see it in him that I think he was more positive like the further away week one was, but now it's kind of like we got to be cautious. And he even said, "You, my doctor said, don't be dumb." So I think he's really like gotta kind of think about that. And I think it's kind of settling in that a week one might be a stretch. So I think we gotta be safe to say that that weapon is not going to be there, and we're probably gonna um, have to deal with having Tonjes and um, why am I drawing a blank? Tonjes and Luke Farrell right now. So, and from what I've heard, Luke Farrell is having a really good training camp. So that's good to hear because last year I was feeling like that was almost like our big acquisition when we were like letting everybody go, and he didn't do shit. So um, kind of feels like there's not that many Niner like headlines right now. Just the last thing on this, because I'll probably I'll look up some trending stuff and talk about that. But um, as far as like some people in the chat, you know, a lot of these Seahawk fans are like coming and getting all butthurt because I said that the Seattle Seahawks championship run last season was a fluke. And like I said, you guys are getting all in your feelings. I mean, that's your God given right. But um, I'm just saying that, there's a lot of things that went right for you guys that not necessarily will go right this season. Like the fact that Darnold got over the hump, you know, the fact that, this was your first consistent like win season, and because you guys were 10-7 the previous season, you know, with Gino. So I'm not trying to disrespect the Seattle Seahawks fans, even though I don't really give a crap what they say because this is my opinion. I'm a Niner fan, so uh get off where you're mad at. So but I still think it's a fluke, and that it's not disrespecting anything. It's just saying let's see what they do this year, and the West is just even, you know, way stacked than it was um last year. So I'm just saying we'll see because honestly, everybody was talking about Jackson and Jigba, whatever. Um, but I felt like he could have had a stronger season last year. I don't think, to me, I don't. I'm not fact checking, but to me, just on face value, I didn't see him have like an incredible dominant wide receiver, like kind of playoff run or anything like that. So that's just me, man. Like I think the big question for the Seahawks, as far as going against my claim, is if Darnold could get over the hump again, like he completely flipped his whole career around. Because people could do it once, but the harder thing is if now you got the target on your back. Because no one was looking at you guys last year, and you guys shocked people. So congratulations on that. But now I got people making uh clipping me and doing like TikToks and stuff. That's cool. But I just laugh when it's like from a Seahawks fan base, and it's like, I know you ride for your team just as I bang bang Niner gang over here, but it's just funny. It's just funny. Like, fluke is not disrespect. Fluke is just an opinion. I think that it's going to be hard for you guys as a Sam Darnold led team, and let's not forget who made him an incredible quarterback again, Kyle Shanahan. Um, so I'm just saying, we will check the receipts at the end of the season, and I will backhand salute you guys if you guys are able to do it. But I don't think you guys are gonna do it again. And everybody's acting like I'm calling Kenneth Walker the third, like I'm calling him, Roger Craig or something, or for you guys, Sean Alexander. No, I'm not. I'm just saying that you guys had a decent run game. It didn't have to be the best, but enough that you got to pay attention to it. And by him going to Kansas City, which obviously I think he's kind of having uh, trouble over there already. But anyway, um, the fact that a big piece of your running game is gone, I think it's gonna, make you guys struggle a little bit. I mean, the good thing is you guys can rely on your defense, but I don't know. I don't know if you guys can do it again. So that's just my opinion on that. Okay, let's see. What the hell? And just a reminder, I am going to try on Thursday to try to uh, do a reaction stream off the preseason game against the Chargers. Um, so don't forget to tune in on that. Um, and there's a lot of stuff going on about if Curtis Rourke, our, I guess I would call it, our third string quarterback, if he's special. I feel like he's getting a lot of the Brock treatment right now. Like, oh, this is Brock all over again. And it's like, I still want to see stuff. Just like people are not quick to just make Stribling Jerry Rice. I wanna wait uh until maybe I don't know, he's gonna get more action during the preseason. I want to see a couple more games of him kind of um being, special, as they say. But he looked good. I think honestly the coaches were probably pissed off at him that he did that quarterback sneak. But um, I think he's a decent guy. Like and I still think the verdict is out on him, and we'll just see with the more experience that we have with him. And a lot of questions right now are, should, like, especially in the secondary, and I'll have a video coming up about the secondary, the 49ers secondary, is, should Prize Sox start over Renardo Green? And I'm just like, if Renardo Green ain't really like impressing in 49ers training camp, why not just start the rookie? I like Price Sock. I heard that he's kind of like getting a little comparison to, Merton Hanks, which I think is crazy. I don't even think I've ever heard anybody been like compared to Merton Hanks. So I I like the fact that we are considering starting Price Sock over Renardo Green. All the trouble he had last season, constantly getting beaten. If he's the guy that, that is probably on his outs, then let's turn the page already and let's just let's go with Price Sock because, you know, I feel like these rookies all need like a significant part of experience this year and really need to experience that and get time on the field. I think that's what's really important this season. And one guy, I don't know, I was just kind of watching the preseason game, and I was like, a guy that like kind of stands out to me right now for some reason is like Duggar. I like him as like the possible D winners replacement, and I he was just for some reason he just looked like some guy I wasn't expecting, and I feel like that's a good definitely a good guy to like have in our linebacking core, and Dre Greenlaw is kind of injury prone. So if anything significant happens with him, I think Duggar could definitely like just step right into it, and I love that we got him. He was kind of unexpected for me. Just looking for other topics. Let me see real quick. Okay, what else we got here? Um, I think we should have this conversation because one person on my Facebook, the authentic page or the authentic take page, kind of was a 49er fan, but was very um, down on Brock Purdy. Like, do you guys think he's underrated? I like to me, I kind of feel like he's rated right where he should be. Like, and I think like he's rated right where he should be. I believe he's like maybe top 15 quarterback. Just because his injuries, I think, kind of caught up to him. But the stuff he was doing in the beginning of his career, like, like playoff wins against like Seattle, beating Brady, um, a Super Bowl appearance. I mean, he really, um, I mean, still bitter, but he should have had two Super Bowl appearances, like when he just kind of Reddick kind of ripped his arm off in that playoff game against Philly. But um, I think he's kind of underrated. Like since he started, playing for us, that game that Jimmy G went down in Miami, um, I felt like he always had the it factor. It just his decision making, and I wasn't always like that on Brock Purdy because like if you're a Niner fan and you watch closely, one of his first appearances in preseason, he handed off the ball to the wrong direction of his running back. Like he handed off to the left, but the running back was on the right. So um I was very hesitant at that point, but he's checked off all the boxes. Yes, I do believe he is overpaid like crazy. I think he got 50% more of what I would have gave him. I've constantly said I think he's like a 25 to 30 million dollar quarterback like yearly. Um and that kind of pigeonholed the Niners, but I think he really is, the cornerstone of the franchise. He's like an underdog. He was Mr. Irrelevant. He's had to, very much so like get over hurdles. Hey, if you forget, the guy that was touted by the Niners was still on the roster, Trey Lance. So he had to, take over while they started Lance over him. So he's really not saying Lance is like Montana or something, but he still had to overcome obstacles. He wasn't like the guy like, oh, we know you're the guy. He had to go prove that he was the guy. And I think, um, there's always the proof behind the pudding, and he has done that. So I've seen it on the field, and because some guys in the spotlight get nervous, they don't do as good as they did in practice. So I feel like Brock is very much underrated, and definitely deserves his flowers. But this year he definitely has to earn his flowers because I really feel like for Brock not to be on the chopping block because of how big his contract is. I feel like he has to have a monumental year, a near MVP year, or an MVP year. So that's what I think about Brock. Okay. Here's here's a off 49er topic. Okay, who would you rather have? Randy Moss or Jerry Rice? Dude, these are like my top two receivers too. Um I'm always going to be biased for Jerry Rice. Just to me, there was nobody doing what he did in his time. There just was nobody. It's just um, there was just nobody. He was just incredible. I mean, I idolized him so much, and just even like you've seen everything he was doing, all the accomplishments, all the stats and records being broken, and the way like his opponents talked about him, I felt like is what is like the significant thing that makes him a Hall of Famer. It was like they were scared to play him. No one had work ethic like Jerry Rice, and he was just one of one. And then you go to Randy Moss, like this guy was just his size and everything. He was just, he was a basketball center playing a wide receiver, and I feel like his height was definitely his advantage, and he was just incredible. But I say that like Jerry Rice set the precedent, and Randy knew that he had to get over that hump, like because Jerry just was just phenomenal with all the records that he broke, and it's just crazy because um Randy Moss with the Vikings, I just feel like was unstoppable. You could just throw a go route and like just look the other way. Yeah, Randy's in the end zone. Okay. So I I hate to say it, but Jerry Rice is always gonna be my number one. But yeah, Randy is definitely the runner up, but I gotta pick Jerry Rice. There's just no other way. It's just my thing, back to like, the MJ LeBron stuff is that Jordan, made it possible for LeBron to have strive to greatness because he set the tone and anything under this was not great. And I feel like that's what Jerry Rice did. And, Moss damn well like was right under him. Um they both cannot be touched, but yeah, that's how I feel on that. Let's see, so. Okay. Let's see. So what do you think? Do you think Debo Samuel is going to be Brock Purdy's like go-to guy this year? Because before Debo left, Brock always like he to me he always gave Debo his credit. Like Debo was kind of like, man, I'm gonna get out of here. I don't think these guys really respect me. Now all fences are mended. But when he was on the outs, Brock would always say, I love Debo. Like, Debo is such a go to guy, a guy I rely on, blah, blah, blah. And I think that's another point of Brock being comfortable this season. As long as CMC is healthy, he got Debo as another kind of dink and dunk guy that can make something happen. And I think that, Debo, like, people are just saying that Debo is like a nostalgia effect right now, but I think it all has to do with Brock's comfortability. And this is another guy he's always been comfortable with, always making something happen with. And I feel like that's why we went and got Debo. And Debo looks in incredible shape in camp. They're saying he looks like the young Debo. And, you know, I think a lot of people are putting nostalgia on this, but I think Debo is someone that Brock needs to be successful this year, and I think he will be. I'm not hearing blaring things from like training camp, just like that he's still getting acclimated back to the Niners and stuff. But I think he's definitely a go-to guy for Brock Purdy this year. And I mean, something else, like the offensive line right now, I'm like so confused on what's going on. Like, I've been hearing like good things about like Connor Colby, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, he's definitely not starting. You know, they're glad that, they have, I forget his name, Lamar Jones, or the guy that we got from the Dolphins is really going after the starting job. And people are starting to worry because I think yesterday Don Pooney was like out of practice. So I wish we would have invested in the offensive line a little bit more, because if these guys have not progressed in the offseason, Brock Purdy's going to be just like running for his life. Just- Man, it just makes me frustrated. Like in the draft, that's all I wanted. I was like, let's go. I'm glad we got Stribling, but it was just like, let's go after. I wanted. I don't even remember his name now, but the Oregon guy that was still on the board before we drafted Stribling. I wanted him. I was like, at least we'll get one like rookie decent guy that comes from a winning organization or winning college, and we just didn't do that. So I feel like that is like kind of like our most vulnerable like spot right now is offensive line, and because I think that's the only place that we didn't really address. And I mean, something else, the whole, I thought the Vita Vea kind of rumor was like dying down for us. And like, I don't know if this is just narrative, because I feel like this would be a big move for the Niners, as far as like it would like kind of just lock us in, because Vita Vea wants to get traded and then obviously like immediately extended. And I think, the Niners are kind of like, you know, keeping all the money, the salary cap like close to the vest. So I'm kind of um wondering why this is such a hot thing right now. And you see, like, I want Vita Vea. Like, he's such a massive dude that I think it really benefits us, and our defensive front will be really scary. And the other thing is, like, you seen Von Miller go to the Cowboys, and it was kind of rumored that maybe the um that Max Crosby was like kind of almost like going to the Cowboys. So does the rumor mill start getting hot, about Crosby coming to the 49ers? Because you remember about a month ago, it was white hot. It was very hot, uh, chances of Crosby coming to the Niners. So I wonder if these guys are really on the table, or if this is just, talking points and everything, because we could use one of these guys. I mean, obviously, I don't think we can get both. That would be incredible. Talk about flipping the script. But we need to, get one of these guys. And I know Max Crosby's kind of been the lukewarm as far as topic. If we can get Vita Vea, this guy will be incredible for the 49ers front. And the fact that he's a homegrown Bay Area dude, he's from Milpitas, California, which is very close to Levi Stadium and the practice facilities. So, um, I think this would be a good fit for the Niners. I just don't know how much we want to do it long term, because I think he's just turning 30. Um, but yeah, as far as stacking the deck for the 49ers, I really think we should go after Vita Vea, because the rumor is really lurking. And a lot of people that, have their podcasts and stuff, they're kind of leaning towards, you know, Vita Vea might be a Niner. So we will see. Let me respond to the chat. The 49ers have a problem with negotiating contracts. A lot of people wanted to look down on Brandon Ayuk, but it's the 49ers staff. Yeah, I mean, I could agree with you that it is, you know, the 49ers staff. It's just the whole, I think, thank you, Courtney Miller, 2680, um, for the responses. I think it's the staff, but I think it's like also the double standard that people are sweeping under the rug about, like Brandon Ayuk. And I don't think Brandon Ayuk was part of the Cabo clique. So I think that's what was like the big issue. And he wasn't plugged in as everybody else was, that just gets contracts without even a hesitation. And as far as a problem negotiating contracts, they said that the GM that just resigned or we got rid of, he was the guy that was always holding the contracts until the last second. I forget his name, the soccer guy. Um, but I think maybe that could be a thing of the past. We got the experience now, and um, I don't know. Hopefully, sky is the limit now as far as negotiating contracts and not having all this drama. But also, from Courtney Miller 2680, the 49ers need to get a younger defensive lineman, not an older damaged good player. Uh, this team is getting up there with age. I believe that too, and I believe that that's what they feel like they're doing with the rookies. Even though I've been hearing, like, the guys that I was thinking about, Alfred Collins, is, you know, they're saying that Alfred Collins is having a horrible training camp. And I'm like, this is one of the guys that I felt like got unexpected experience last year. And, he's really a guy that would be like an extra guy that we can rely on this year. But unfortunately, I don't think these rookies are panning out. And it's just kind of time will tell. And I think the biggest move, especially with the defensive line, and I believe he's like 26 or 28, I think, is Osa Adigizua. Like I I can't wait to see the ruckus this guy brings this year. I think he is just someone that wants to prove it, and um, I think that I think he's really gonna prove it. He wants to stick it to the Cowboys. He's already marking the Cowboys game on the calendar, which I will be attending with a couple of my friends, including Dr. Haro in Texas. I will be at AT&T Stadium, and I can't wait for that. Um, but yeah, we definitely need to go younger, but I kind of that's why I kind of feel like this is the last year of the window of the old guys. I gotta think we're gonna kind of shift in the other direction. I think we have one foot in the rebuild already, so that's what I kind of feel. But yeah, thanks for the chats. Good job, Q, the good work. I appreciate that. Courtney Miller 2680. Okay, let's see if we got a couple more Niner narratives that we could talk about. One thing that I really don't like is I hate how like the all the stuff that the Niners have done is like the first thing that describes the Niners by like all these like narrative people um is the first thing is old. I hate it. It's like you think the whole league isn't really old, like like you got on the Giants, they're young, but they signed uh Odell Beckham. Like he's an old fuck. But anyway, I just hate how that's the first thing. Oh, but they're old. Like they act like people don't hit their prime in their late 30s or early 40s. I mean, you look at granted it's baseball. You look at Barry Bonds, like this guy was just like fine wine, like crushing the ball at like 39, 40. So that just getting that off my chest. That just bugs me, man. Um, I guess to kind of wrap it up, like how do we think we're gonna do against the Chargers? I want to see what we have out there. Um, I want to see what players we have out there. I think Mac will get some time in this second game. At least I'm guessing. I know a lot of people were shocked that Mac wasn't out there for the first preseason game. Especially since I've been hearing that he's kind of had like a shaky training camp, like some good days, some bad days. So yeah, I want to see him. And I really want to see Black, man. Like I don't care if CMC if they're resting CMC, that's fine. I want to see Black. I hope that I don't know if he's actually not practicing, but I really want to see him, man. Like because they were saying, our running game, was bad last week, but it's like we got Herbert out there, and it's just like, wait, he's like he was here for like a week and a half. How much is he really gonna know? He's just gonna go off his skill, not like the game plan. So I want to see what our running game can do, and I want to see how Stribling can build on what he did in game one. Um, and it kind of seemed like they went to him in high volume, but I want to see what he can do. I want to see if Rourke is still out. He suffered a rib injury. And then, I actually thought they were going to release Adrian Martinez. So Adrian Martinez got to go in there and redeem himself as well. Um, I want to I want to see as far on the defensive side. Um, I don't know who they really play. I know they played Jack Jones and Hobbs, and they both got injured. But Jack Jones, I believe, was back out at practice. I just want to see him, get more comfortable in the secondary. And I wonder if, if they're gonna have stout play. I'm just wondering if they're gonna give a little time for the to the starters, and I hope they do because I want to see how these guys look. And um, I feel like even on the back on the receiving core, don't put Mike Evans in there. Like the last preseason game, like throw him out there, for a series or two. But I don't want to push our luck right now. So um, yeah, like my most important thing is I want to see how the offensive line does and how the defensive front does because those are our biggest concerns. And if we look decent, I think that says a lot about our coaching and our preparation for this upcoming season. And the sky will be the limit if those two sections will, kind of prevail, even though they've kind of been reported as lackluster. So, that's how I feel on that. Let's see if I got any more stuffs before I get out of here. Let's see. I think that might be kind of it. Trying to reach an hour on this thing. Um, been kind of cutting it short lately, but let me see. Um, go all. Let's see. Okay, this is like breaking right now. Is the New York Giants? They were working out Najee Harris. Um, they're working out Najee Harris, and he officially signs with the Giants. Which that's pretty good for them. That's a backup plan for Scattaboo when he wants to do his like crazy, uh, you know, I don't know if you want to call it Caucasian, but he wants to do his crazy stuff, Mr. Backflip. If he gets injured, at least they got Najee Harris now, and I believe Najee Harris is staying away from the fireworks, so he'll help them out pretty good. I believe the Niners worked him out. I would have liked a good veteran guy like that, for the Niners, but obviously after the draft we went a different way. But um, yeah. See anything else we could like end with? See. Oh, I mean, this is NFL stuff, but um, why is Shadur Sanders not the starting quarterback for the Browns? I think that is just crazy. Um, you know, they're pretty much going in the favor of Deshaun Watson, who is constantly injured since he hasn't been with the Texans since the what 22, 23 accounts of harassment while he was at a massage parlor. And I feel like the last year that he played, like that was his like, okay, are we going to fulfill this contract? And I don't think he's done anything substantial to like kind of boot Shador Sanders out of there. And I don't like how the Browns have been handling Shador. I think it's really weak, honestly. And my whole thing before he got drafted, I always said I think he should be drafted by the Saints. That like I feel like every team in the league has a quarterback or a backup that they feel like could lead their team, and the only team that I feel like is different is the Saints. Like who they got? What Tyler Show or Saw, whatever his name is. I mean, he did decent, but not like crazy good last year. So why wouldn't you go in that other direction? I would try to acquire Shador Sanders if I am the New Orleans Saints. You know, they got Olive. Um, I think Kamara is still with them, I believe. Um, they got a decent team that could, surprise people. Maybe not surprise that much, but it would be nice to have an anchor in your quarterback that you could rely on, like a Shador Sanders. If the Browns are just gonna roll with Watson this year, I think that's just watching it. It's so weird. It's like, let's do anything to not start Shador. Like I don't get it. I feel like he's a very mature kid, mature adult, and like it just sucks. I just feel like he gets put in the Dion, category, and it's like, don't don't punish this kid for how outgoing and flamboyant and you know changing of ways that Dion was. This guy just wants to play ball and be happy doing it. I just think it's really weird. Um, but I guess that's gonna wrap it up here. Um, Make sure to look out on Thursday. I am gonna live stream uh reactions to the 49ers preseason game against the Chargers, their first away game of the preseason. And yeah, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. As always, I appreciate y'all out there. And this has been Crunch Time with the Authentic Take. Like, comment, and subscribe. I'm out of here.